Good afternoon. This is Media Center Ukraine Odesa. You can watch us online on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. And if you have questions, you can ask them online. Just scan the QR code that you can now see on the screen. The link will redirect you to the messenger. After dismissal of the scandalous head of the Commissariat, Yevgen Borisov, Yevgen Zaluzhny appointed Colonel Oleksandr Okhrimenko as the head of the Odesa Territorial Recruitment Center, who was the commander of the 14th Brigade, named after the Knyaz Roman Veliky. Back then, when commenting this appointment, Mr. Zaluzhny noted that he appointed one of the best military commander. And Oleksandr Okhrimenko is present today at the Media Center Ukraine Odesa. And this is perhaps the unique case when the head of the Territorial Recruitment Center is ready to communicate publicly and to answer the numerous questions that people have. Good afternoon. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to heroes. And I would like to thank you once again for joining us today. And today is the day of the ground troops of Ukraine. I would like to congratulate you on this day. And just could you share a bit of your background? Thank you, first of all, for being inviting, and also using this opportunity, I would like to congratulate everyone on the day of the ground forces of Ukraine, and would like to wish victory to us. And as you've already mentioned, I was first the commander of the 14th Mechanized Brigade, and for the last 5 months I have been the head of the Odesa Territorial Recruitment Center. And so I, in my experience, have the head of the mechanized unit and the Mechanized Brigade, and in the ground forces, I was involved in this activities since 2014 as the commander of different units and brigades, and the latest one was the head of the 14th Mechanized Brigade. In 2018, I graduated from the National Defense University of Ukraine, and with the start of the full-scale invasion, as the commander of the mentioned brigade, I was just performing duties in Kiev, Mykolaiv, Zaporizhzhia, Donetsk, and Kharkiv directions as the part of the advancement forces liberating our territories from occupiers. There have been a lot of corruption scandals in the Odesa Oblast before your appointment. And what was your personal task from Mr. Zaluzhny? The main task of the state in general is to perform mobilization activities and also to recruit different experts in the armed forces of Ukraine with regard to the needs of our army. And also the recruitment of contractors, and also to perform other tasks. This is the social protection of the military and of the veterans and the members of their families. Let's get to the mobilization activities. Could you provide some general information, and then we will have questions from our colleagues. At the moment, with regard to the requirements of the order of the President of Ukraine on mobilization on the territory of Ukraine, and also in line with the laws of Ukraine on the martial law and other documents, there have been performed measures of mobilization not only in the Odesa Oblast but all over the state. In the framework of these tasks, these special measures are taken as for mobilization and delivering of people to the military units, and also they are sending for the training, and then sending to the brigades that are in need of people, both at the contact line and in other mobilization places. Do you have any task how many men should be mobilized on the territory of Odesa Oblast? According to the directors of the chief commander and the relevant commanders of different units and the operative command, there are specific numbers and categories of persons that should be mobilized at the moment for the military units. I cannot disclose the number because of the security issues, but the resource which is on the territory of the Odesa Oblast allows to perform the task for our army at the contact line to be able to be fully completed and also to liberate as a final task the territory of Ukraine from occupiers. Could you just share, at least share the percentage of the plan fulfillment? As of today, I cannot say that we are on the proper performance level, but the process is ongoing. The work is organized with all structures who are interested in performing mobilized tasks. As for the mob draft, you say that the level is not enough. What is the reason? What is the challenges that you meet during mobilization? First of all, there are categories of people that do not fully understand the importance of the measures taken on the territory of the state or the whole. And understanding the level of responsibility that the armed forces of Ukraine have. And perhaps the awareness raising is not on the proper level for different categories of population. For everyone to understand, for every man and every woman, that it is important, the mobilization is important nowadays to support the armed forces of Ukraine. We have a very dangerous enemy, and we should not underestimate it. And please just believe my experience. The enemy who temporarily occupies some of the territories of Ukraine does not provide the choice to their citizens in terms of whether to join the Russian army or not. And that's why the awareness-raising campaign is very important for Ukraine to be able to meet the mobilization tasks, in particular in the Odesa region. How do you think is the quality of mobilization affected with the corruption scandals that are related to territorial recruitment centers? Of course, it affects, and the information and psychological operation is the part of tools that our enemy use. And if such cases are there, then the law enforcement bodies should investigate them accordingly. Thank you. Let's get to the questions from our colleagues. Olga Donskam, where Ukraine? Good afternoon. The first question. You say that the level of mobilization is not the proper one. Could you provide some percentage how many people have been mobilized and who is the focus at the moment? Because in social media we can see different rumors that now you're more interested in students because you need younger people. Is that true or not? You see, there is no some specific category for mobilization for the draft, and there is the list of jobs which are needed by the armed forces of Ukraine, and this is our baseline. And as for the draft to the combat units, now people are summoned to the training centers and also to the newly created military units. And they will be trained in the future. They will be forming the brigade, and then it is probable that they can be sent to the combat zone. As for the percentage, I don't want to disclose this information, but at the moment we can say that this is an acceptable level. And could you comment upon the sport gyms, recreation zones? Where is the limit where the representatives of territorial recruitment centers can take mobilization centers? We've seen the videos from Kolsin where the representatives just entered the dressing room where there were men and women. Is there any limit? I can say that there is no limits there are no limits for our enemy, and I believe that everyone should protect the state at the level the person is capable of. The information that we can see on the social media, and this information is provided as it is needed by some categories, including our enemy, and this information is used by our enemy. As for all these scandals that we can see on social media, and people inform about this on purpose, we investigate all the cases, me personally and the employees of territorial recruitment centers. If the case is approved, the measures are taken. Can the draft notice be just issued in swimming pools, in dressing rooms, etc.? It can be made in all the conditions where it is possible. And as for joint measures in terms of awareness raising, these measures are taken together with the local authorities in line with the legislation. If there are the cases, really the cases that you are mentioning now, perhaps this is exclusively because of the fact that the measures are taken by the military, who are not that aware of all the nuisances of the legislation. Because for the last 6 months, I've made a decision together with the leadership to have rotation in our units and some of the territorial recruitment centers, and some the people from the military units are on rotation sent to the territorial recruitment centers, and they are not that aware of the legislation. They are now at the territorial recruitment centers. Yes, they are here. This is around 8% from the rotation who have combat experience, who were involved in combat activity, and now they involved in providing information to the population and in mobilization. The next question, and please introduce yourself. Oleksandr Dumska. We can see now that in the city, the representatives of territorial recruitment centers issue draft notices. And they do this somehow randomly. They do this in the street, outdoors. There is the single electronic database of the territorial recruitment centers of the people who can be mobilized in Ukraine. In particular, the residents of the Odesa. Yes, of course, we have such electronic database, which is called OTRC. This is for personal record of all people who should serve in the army, and it is also used to control the resources in different regions. And in the database, we also have the tasks needed to supply mobilization resources to the military units, for which we have specific documents, regulatory documents. We've seen numerous times in the streets such cases when the representatives of territorial recruitment center just take people in a bus and take them somewhere. And only then they identify if this person can be called to the army. And I would like to repeat myself, the information that you have in the social media and the mass media, we investigate all the cases. Perhaps there are such cases, but we check all the cases, and there are official checks. Do you have in your territorial recruitment centers such cases when people from the cities of the Odesa, men, are kept in territorial recruitment centers until the information is got about them? Maybe this question is not correct. No one can keep forcibly people in territorial recruitment centers. So there is some documentation issues, the medical examination, all the things they need time. And I would like to say that the information which is there, and perhaps this is exaggerated, and all the videos that are shot by those people of draft age, I understand that perhaps there are some gaps, but we do everything possible just to rectify the situation and also to raise awareness of people about the necessity of mobilization, for them to be conscious about the need to protect the state. Good afternoon. My name is Ludmila, Ukraine Radio Odesa Suspilna. And I want just to add here. Yesterday we had the situation in Mykolaiv. Motorway, the civil vehicle was stopped, and the question about if the representatives of the territorial recruitment units can stop cars in the road. We are on the territory of the Odesa region with the special regime of the martial law. And this is not only about the contact line, but we also need to take different preventive measures. And there are the special structures, different units, as a commandant's office, and there are the national security tasks to ensure the security order, and the representatives of the territorial recruitment centers, together with the relevant law enforcement bodies, take measures at special checkpoints and in some other special places to check people who could be of the draft age and should be mobilized. This is how the work is organized. But this cannot be just representatives of territorial recruitment centers, but these are the special teams that have been created following official orders here, and they are representatives of law enforcement bodies and territorial recruitment centers. And the second question. Ruslan Shpek in March this year was sent to Malinovsky Territorial Recruitment Center, and the Center of Public Investigation said that the Shpek referred to law enforcement bodies that without his consent he was sent to Territorial Recruitment Center in Zankovitskaya Street. And this is not for the first time when we hear that in Zankovetsky some stranger things happen. And Ruslan says that for quite a long period of time he was not allowed to call to his relatives, and then he called to the police, but he was released on the 16th of March. The same situation were with my friends this year. They were taken from their car that was parked, and the men were taken to the territorial recruitment center to Zankovetsky. Their telephones were taken from them, and they were not. There was no medical examination. They were forced to sign documents, and the next day they were sent to the military unit and sent to Zhytomyr. As of June, following the information from intent, the law enforcement bodies have more than 20 claims of the citizens that were forcibly kept in the territorial recruitment centers. The question is, what is the basis before the result of the medical examination? People are kept in the territorial recruitment center. Thank you. And we cannot assess the representatives of the territorial recruitment center, but the fact is not proven, and the law enforcement bodies should investigate such cases. But when it comes to mobilization, when it comes to the threat to the national security of Ukraine, then I would like to openly say that all conscious citizens who have the proper health condition and are of the draft age, and not only 26, 60 years, and they could be younger than 27, they need to understand that no one else can, instead of them, protect the state. As for the case that you mentioned, I would like to repeat myself that we investigate all the cases. If there are legal basis, we just redirect these cases to law enforcement bodies for them to take decision. Thank you. And I have one more question, if you allow. And today the corruption was mentioned, and yesterday in the main directorate of the National Police of the Odesa region, they informed that there is a suspicion of bribery of the head of Territorial Recruitment Center in the Odesa Oblast, and the police recorded 2 facts of receiving money from the people of draft age or their relatives, and the proceeding was initiated. Mr. Okhrimenko, what measures are taking just to fight corruption in territorial recruitment centers? Thank you. This situation really was there, and I personally count upon this as following. The measures have been taken by law enforcement bodies together with the representatives of Territorial Recruitment Center, including myself, to perform their duties. As for the measures taken, I've already mentioned them. This is the explanation work. This is the rotation and substitution of the employees of territorial recruitment centers who have combat experience and understand the need of that. And for me, as the head of territorial recruitment center, I have the full coordination of activities with law enforcement bodies. The principle should be the only one, the zero tolerance to corruption. And the last question from my side, after the decision by the president to have checks in military commissariat, a lot of military were sent to the territorial recruitment centers from the combat zone. And for example, a soldier nicknamed Sabar, the hernia was found. He had some problems with his eye, and the command made a decision this person can be just redirected to territorial recruitment centers. And there is a question, there is the case of Irina Kaluga, who also works in the territorial recruitment center. What is the mechanism of redirection, of sending these people to territorial recruitment centers? To whom people should address for them to be sent there? And there is the procedure. And there is the procedure for the military service of the citizens. The procedure is very simple. You can address your commander as for the having different wounds, concussion, etc., or the deterioration of the health condition. And this person should also provide medical, should get medical certificate from the commission. And this application with this certificate, with this conclusion, is considered by a commander. And then the person could be transferred to the territorial recruitment center. Thank you. There is the question from Dumska. And Oleksandr, just to continue this discussion. We've heard a lot about quickened medical examination. Could territorial recruitment centers affect the medical commission? Or is this an individual unit? Thank you very much for your question. The procedure for the medical examination is regulated by specific documents. So this is Order 409 of the Minister of Defense, edited by Order 490. And according to the decisions of the leadership of the state and the government, the mechanism is being developed for the medical commissions to be transferred from the premises of territorial recruitment centers. So there is no actual or legal impact on territorial recruitment centers. But till recently, we've seen the opposite situation. The only thing that we can see that some medical commissions were at the premises of territorial recruitment centers, but this is no more the case in the future. And medical military commissions, they have their own procedures, and they're responsible for the activities together with their heads. Irina Dolmatova, Grad, television and radio company. To tell us, please, if a man gets draft age, does it mean that this person will be obligatory trained before getting to the front line? Who controls that? Can we have the cases when in 2 days the person is already sent to the military zone? Thank you for the question. And as of today, we have exclusively the mobilization measures to the training centers. We do not call people directly to the military units. This is related to the fact that the whole contingent of the operative reserve who was trained since 2014 is complete, and people of this the people of draft age are sent to the training centers or the newly formed military units for their further training and the performance of duties in the future. And there are no such cases at the moment. If this information is the information area, then I can say that this is not true. Are there any periods? There are the special periods for training centers and also for the specific profession, military profession. It depends on the profession which is defined for a specific person. It could be 1 month or even more, depending on the difficulty of the profession. Now, when a person is mobilized, is his background taken into consideration, like a cook or an engineer? If people have certificates proving their education, then this is taken into consideration, but this is taken into consideration when the person is sent to a training center. And the training centers, they disseminate people following the needs of military units. And the last question, just to continue this topic of the medical examination, medical commission, could a person somehow just appeal the decision of the medical examination? If the person passes the medical examination in the regional territorial recruitment centers, does not agree with the decision, he can appeal to the regional level. And this is the right of a person. And we also just have such cases. Thank you. Olga. And you say now that you will just investigate all separate cases. Do you have any just proceedings now? And what is the number of people involved? And are there any sanction of punishment, like with regard to people who just put people in buses and took them somewhere? Do you have any information about that? Thank you for investigation. There is one official investigation. It is ongoing, and if there will be some decisions, there will be signs of other violations, the documents will be submitted to the law enforcement bodies for the legal assessment. And haven't had any cases before, not since I was appointed, is a person with obvious signs of not being able to serve, be sent to medical examination, because today we got information that a person with 5 children was sent to medical examination. And people should undergo medical examination at least once per 5, and also just to update their personal information. And this is needed to be aware of the situation in the area of responsibility. This would help us to understand the resource that we have, the resource that we can just exclude because of the family conditions, medical conditions, or some other reasons. And that will help us. So you need to undergo medical examination. If, as in your case, a person has 5 children, and the person would undergo medical examination, but there are some additional family conditions that allow him not to be summoned to the army, only if this person volunteers. And we know that at the beginning of the full-scale invasion, the men just stormed the military commissariats. Now, do you have a lot of volunteers now? And so there are a lot of people who are men who still apply. This is the contractual service since 18 years. We just prepare all the documents, and this is also with the following training centers. And this is just the part of the contractual service and recruitment there. And what is the number of volunteers now, just comparing to the people who received a draft notice and come? And according to the procedure and according to the information that we have, it is very difficult to talk about shares or percentage because the numbers keep changing. At the moment, we have just we have contracted 100 persons in the beginning of the month, and some of them they just undergo medical examinations, others go to training centers, and this is an ongoing process. As for women, since the 24th of February 2022, how many women have been recorded and how many women have been mobilized? Thank you for the question. And the women who have like medical background or some other needed professions, they just arrive to territorial recruitment centers. A lot of women have been mobilized during the full-scale invasion. They volunteer, just come to us. I cannot share with you exact numbers, but we also just mobilize these women. As for this information psychological war, when people are just stuffed into buses, does it help the Russian Federation, their propaganda? And this is not only my personal point of view, but everyone can say that, of course, this helps them in the information environment. This also affects the perception of the citizens of Ukraine of the situation. And you believe that such actions are unlawful. Law enforcement bodies should investigate such cases for the individuals or units. What men should do in such cases when people in military uniform put them in buses? I don't understand the question. What could men do? So should they go with those people to the military commissariat, or should they try to legally prove their rights? The conscious citizens of our state and they are obliged to protect themselves, to protect their families, and to protect their cities, regions, and the state. And if people just listen and read this information psychological campaign, then we could have different results. Have you been developing some steps to improve trust in the territorial recruitment centers and to mobilization in general? Yes, a range of proposals have been already made. The work is ongoing, and I personally attend the meeting of the meetings of the National Defense and Security Council, and now there have been several proposals with regard to amending the legislation in the part of social protection and also other documents, and also to raise motivation. And they also, I think that the fact that now there are a lot of people with military experience from the front line are in recruitment centers, this could positively affect the situation. What kind of information campaign we have? First of all, I could say that the war is not over at the moment, and it will not be over tomorrow. And the trust to the armed forces of Ukraine is one of the highest levels in our history. And the society should adjust and to clearly understand the categories of people to whom they should adapt. This should be respect to the veterans, and there should be social protections, and there should be measures taken after the war is over and or after the retirement of soldiers. And this is this task will be fulfilled at the state level. And at the beginning, you have not mentioned the precise number in terms of mobilization. And could we speak about some the hectic periods for intensive mobilization in certain periods of times? I can ask you the same question. Do we have some hectic periods for the war when the enemy says, okay, let's make a break? This is our answer. So, for the full-scale war, this will be an ongoing process until we liberate all our territories. Thank you. The colleagues, one more question. When my friends just go to the front line, on Facebook, I can see messages from them. They ask to help them, their friends to help them just to be equipped. For example, they need tires on the front line, etc. Why is it so? Why does not state covers all these issues? Perhaps this is not the question related to the activities of the territorial recruitment units, but I can speak about my personal experience as the head of the military unit. I was also responsible for the procurement. Everything depends on commanders. You know that in the Armed Forces of Ukraine and the Ministry of Defense, the material and technical support and supplies when it comes to the clothes, uniform, and some other things, everything is on the proper level. But perhaps people want to have more quality, like shoes or boots, maybe foreign production. But at the moment, as for the armed forces of Ukraine, our soldiers can get everything they need. And the last question from Dumska. Why don't we have any information about this issuing of draft notices in the sitting council among people's deputies, MPs, etc.? And here I can share with you some numbers. As of yesterday, and there was the meeting. Was the representatives of the head of the president's office with the involvement of the heads of the regional military administration and the heads of the recruitment centers, and we discussed this topic. As of today, in the territory of the Odesa region, different types of people's deputies at the city and community levels, they have been 104 persons that have been mobilized. The process is ongoing. And if we compare the record matching, and this covers all categories of people of draft age. So it doesn't matter if it's a countryside, village, city, people's deputies, sportsmen, or just entrepreneurs. All categories of all men of all categories should get to the recruitment centers, and with the exceptions of the cases when there is reservation, allowing them not to be summoned to the armed forces of Ukraine. So we should wait for the draft note to be issued to the mayor of Odesa, Gennady Trokhanov. If you're interested in his position, this category of jobs, they are reserved by the state. And there is no such a legislative initiative to change the situation as the recruitment center. As for the people's deputies of the city council, I can not just disclose information about this and my personal plans. So at the next session of the Municipal Council, the room will be empty. And just a month ago, there was an incident in the residential area Raduzhny, and the whole area was trying to save their men. Yes, that was the provocation. And together with the law enforcement bodies, this person was identified. And this is a draft dodger violating the administrative code. And he personally acknowledged the violation, and this person has already sent to the armed forces of Ukraine. It was his personal wish. We know that the members of the so-called communal enterprise, the guard of the city, have the certificate of the territorial defense units. Have they been mobilized or not? Some of the benefits or the possibility not to be called to the armed forces of Ukraine is regulated by the law of Ukraine. And there is Article 23 that provides exclusive information of those people who are not subject to the draft. And if we look at separate organizations, separate structures, including the one that you've mentioned, they don't have any benefits in this context. Thank you. Dear colleagues, there are no more other questions. In the beginning, I have mentioned that that was your first public briefing, and you were ready to answer the questions. Thank you very much for this. But we would like for this communication to be on the ongoing basis, at least once per month, to have such briefing at least once per month. Thank you very much for the invitation. If it is needed, I can answer the questions which is not interested for the journalists and also for our society. And also this is needed for the awareness raising. And our territorial center is always open to provide information 24/7. I and my employees, my subordinates, are ready to answer your questions. We have call centers, and we have the open doors on Wednesday. I'm always ready to accept citizens from the morning till the evening. And if it is needed in other days, you can always refer to us. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for my colleagues, our colleagues who have also joined us today. And we will continue at 3:30.